We're at New York Comic Con with Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, who are doing Batman. So guys, you guys have been doing Batman for a long time now. So, let's start off with a more vague question. What do you guys want to bring to the character?
Honestly, when we started, I was just so terrified of doing it in the first place. I didn't think about it. I just wanted to do a good story, or a story that meant something to me and felt like if I got one chance to write this character, this is how I would do it. And ultimately, as our run has gone on, I think I've come to recognize certain things about our Batman that I feel are personal or individual to ours. And so I hope what our legacy with Batman is in some ways, other than just being known as a team, I couldn't be prouder to be associated with him and to have built what we built together and to be, known as a duo like that, on the book. I mean, that's what I'm proudest of, is having built something, with Greg and knowing it's ours, and with the art team, with Danny and FCO. Right. But if our Batman, one thing I really love is that I know we made a concerted effort to try and make him more of a symbol of inspiration, I think, rather than intimidation. When I was a kid, he was a very scary figure who scared bad guys back into the shadows, and that was effective for what was going on, I think, in New York and other places at that time, and it was very potent and very, very right for him as a hero. But now I think the kind of problems that we face and the things that scare people are less problems that you can kind of scare away or punch. And so for us, I think we've tried to make him a symbol of bravery, and someone that says, if I can overcome the challenges in my life or these crazy supervillains, you can come out and defeat the things that seem impossible to overcome in your own life. And that making him brighter out by day, all that kind of stuff is something I'm really proud of.
Well, I'm just happy that I made Batman look a little different than other artists have treated him previously, particularly with the cowl. I've never really liked all that furrowed line work that goes into the cowl, because it makes you look like, skin tight, paper thin, which is not very protective. I guess it's a good disguise, but if you're a warrior in the streets and stuff like that, I didn't think it was that practical. And the other thing, a lot of guys like to make them look all ripped to the bone like a contest-ready bodybuilder. And and with the spray painted on its suit, and I never, that doesn't really appeal to me for that character either. So, when I got my hooks in Batman, I echo the same thing that Scott said about being too nervous and everything like that. But I had a firm idea in my mind of I wanted to go very different than that stuff. So, I've known guys who are just like slabs of meat, who are very dangerous slabs of meat. And I wanted my Batman to be more like that, you know what I mean? So not ripped, shredded, but man, it's just a guy you don't want to tangle with. He's big and he's heavy and he's going to hurt you, and just knocking into him by accident, you're going to damage a part of your body. You know what I mean? And then with the cowl, I always like Frank Miller, Dark Knight Returns, where Batman's armored up, ready to fight Superman, and he had that bullnose helmet, and I love that thing so bad that I go, I want to get mine as close to that as possible. I know I can't cut it down just flat like that, but I'm getting as close to it as I can. I'm going to remove all those lines, and only occasionally, if I really, really have to, will I change something more than the eye shape to give the emotion. Maybe I'll show a tick mark or two, just because I just am forced to. But I try and keep it smooth. I try and keep it black. And somebody pointed out to me it's also a little bit like Space Ghost, right? That shape. And I go, wow, I guess so, and I always loved Space Ghost since I was a little kid, And so, yeah, it's like a combination of those two things, Space Ghost and Frank Miller tied together, and that's my Batman, along with some dangerous individuals that I grew up with. So,
well, it looks fantastic, so very cool. Now, I think it's no secret now that Jim Gordon is Batman. That's not a spoiler, everyone knows that. But how did that come about, and what was your reaction when, Scott here was like, Bruce, gone, or gone? Yeah. How did that come to be, and what was your reaction?
Scott called me up. I mean, I knew where we were going with Endgame, and that Bruce was gonna be taken out, sort of. And Scott said, I'm thinking of making Gordon Batman. Is that too crazy? Is that too far out there? And I was like, no, I think that's awesome. I love the idea, especially because I love Gordon as a character so much. So if I could do just a side arc, I would love to do just like Gordon Bullock, you know what I mean, or something like that. And so to be able to draw Gordon, and he's now Batman, it was just awesome to me right out of the gate. And it was sort of like the natural thing to do, because if you don't have Bruce to do it, who would be your next guy in line? And to me, that's a natural progression. And what I'm looking forward to is how afterwards, when our Bruce Batman eventually returns, which someday will probably maybe happen, never. How it will change their relationship permanently, right? Because now you have Gordon, who's actually walked a mile in his boots, and so I think that's really cool.
Greg's been a real rudder for me on the book. You know, he's always the first person I call when I have an idea like that, and you know, the first person I show an issue to, and then intensely pester to make sure it's good enough. It really is. And so I knew when he liked it, we'd be good to go. I mean, at this point, like, you know, coming to a convention like this where you see all of these fans out there and readers of the book, you remember kind of the support, and it's incredibly gratifying, and we're very grateful to the fans. But if you think about them when you're writing the book or drawing the book, it's very paralyzing, at least for me, because you remember how many people care about this character so deeply and how many great stories have come before your own, and making any kind of change or any calculated risk becomes very terrifying. So instead, I think for me, the real compass on the book is our friendship or our partnership on it, where I know if he likes it and he's excited to draw it, then I'm excited about it, and I can block out sort of the pressure of writing Batman as a objective thing, you know.
Now, one of the big things with Jim Gordon Batman at first was, you know, the redesign, his suit. The internet was like, Bunny Batman! and whatnot. But what's really cool about that is, you know, in the first issue of that, you guys addressed it. So was that intentional? Did you put that in the script after? Because, you know, Jim says, it kind of looks like a bunny.
Yeah, well, I think part of what we try and do, at least with the book, I think, you know, Greg would agree, is let fans know that we love these characters deeply, and we'd never make a change like this unless we thought we had better story for the characters that we love and they love through that change. We'd never do it to be like, let's try and boost sales or do something crazy or sensational or break the mythology. It's always to get better story and to get a new angle on the characters, or to try something that's never been tried in 75 years. I mean, when you have an idea like that, it's worth the risk, because this franchise is just so storied. And so it has, you know, it has some of the best runs and the best books in literature. You have to take a chance like that. And so for me, I think, you know, once I came up with it, it wasn't really a question if he liked it. You know, once he liked it, it was like, you know, let's do this. But I think, you know, on some level, it's very gratifying to see the fans respond as well as they have. I mean, you know, I like to put in those nods to them, I guess, and say, yeah, don't worry, we know what you're afraid of, like it looks like a bunny or this or that, and it's fun because we want them to know we hear them. That's all. We hear them, we care about them, and it's important to us that they enjoy it as much as we do.
As soon as I got the Bat Bunny comments on Twitter, I ran with it, because you know what I mean. Right. Because you got to run with it, right? Because it diffuses it, right? It's like calling yourself stupid. I'm just a stupid dummy. Then nobody wants to call you a stupid dummy because you beat him to the punch, right? So my idea was, yeah, Bat Bunny. So I find pictures of like Bruce from the Playboy Club, like Batman with big bunny ears, and here you go, here's a Bat Bunny. I ran with it, man. I embraced it, right? And so you got to embrace it. Like Scott said, we're together in this. So I mean, you want to make fun of it? I could poke fun of it just as easily as you can. You know, it's all good. It's all good. And I knew eventually they'd turn around and like it anyway because it was a great story.
Yeah, very good. You got a new character now, new villain, Mr. Bloom. How'd you come up with that and the design? How did that come about?
Well, I came up with him because, I mean, for me, I love that Gotham, whenever you try and be a hero in that city, whether you're a citizen or you're Batman, it will generate sort of a villain that represents all of your fears. Yes. And because Jim Gordon believes, I think, in the people of Gotham, in their ability to put faith in the systems that they put in place to protect themselves, the police, local government, all of that, you need a villain who instead sort of says, none of that works, none of that will ever work, protect yourself. You know, come to the end of the alley, get your superpowers from me, and go be a powerful force for your own interests and nobody else's. So Mr. Bloom, that's where he kind of came from in terms of the concept of him. And visually, I mean, the idea, I gave Greg a few ideas about, you know, how he should be weed-like and this stuff, but the brilliance of the design, the fishnets, and the kind of slender quality and the way he moves and all of it is really... He just kind of takes the ideas and spins them into something pretty magical. I love the villain so much. I love writing him, and he busts out in 45 and 46. He's just out of control in the next couple issues, where he really comes into his own and starts grandstanding, and it's a lot of fun. So, you know, that was my half of it.
Yeah, Scott always throws these ideas my way, and then, you know, I try and, you know, come up with something that's either close to what he's thinking or far from what he's thinking, and he was going, you know, I want this really creepy character, you know, maybe his face is just a flower. And as soon as I heard the word flower, I go, how are you making that creepy? I mean, you know, if you love somebody, you might give them a flower, right? If you're in the doghouse, you want to get out of the doghouse, you might give them a flower, you know, or flowers. So I go, I don't really see, the creep factor. And he's going, like a sunflower. I'm going, me and my sister used to grow sunflowers, and watch how cool they change direction. This is fun. It's a fond memory. So I really wasn't getting the creep factor. And then he sent me like a picture of a sugar skull, and I was telling him why mechanically, that wouldn't work for me to be able to pull it off that way. And he just kept on with the flower angle, and I started to go toward the weed angle. And at one point I made like a bride's veil out of a tangle of weeds, which looked pretty damn creepy, Now that I said was creepy, and but he kept on. Cyclops, you ended up in the center of the flower, and so I'm trying to make it work, and I'm not feeling it, And so he comes up with his picture. I don't know where he found it, but it just the mass that you see is an actual flower that exists. It looks carnivorous. It has all these little teeth-like fangs in a circle like that. And so once I saw that, I go, that's something I can work with. And the rest just evolves, you know what I mean, in how you feel about something. When he said weed, I just tried to emulate a weed in the guy's stature. Yeah. And the fishnets was actually a last-minute have to do, because Danny had already inked the cover. It was already in FCO's hands, and Scott goes, I want to obscure the skin color of the character, And my editor came up with an idea that I don't remember what it was. All I know it was a bad idea, and I said, no, leave it to me. This is what I do, and I got this, and I whipped out that fishnet thing, and I just digitally inked it over Danny's real ink board and sent off to FCO, and the rest is history. And it just worked out to look cool.
Last question. You guys are working on Batman. You also worked on Superman. Who would win in a fight, Batman or Superman?
I like Batman's answer where he says no one wins, but really Batman wins. Batman wins. I always say, like, Avengers versus X-Men, who wins? Batman wins. He always wins.
He's got a contingency plan for anything that can crop up and happen, because he's so paranoid, right? So he's already got Superman's ass kicked before Superman realizes his ass is kicked.
Well, there you go. Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Batman, fantastic run. Read it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks.